Welcome back to Orediggers, the official podcast of Oredigger Athletics. I'm Paul Panisco, and as always, thanks for joining us here. We have a special one here today. Our first two episodes were with both our basketball head coaches. Obviously, we're right in the thick of things as far as the basketball season goes. We are going to talk to our head coaches again, but a little bit different, as Senior Day is coming up here for the Montana Tech basketball teams. And Senior Day throughout my years has just turned into one of my favorite days of the year. I started kind of a tradition years ago with Bob Green, head coach, former head coach of the Montana Tech football team. Bob and I sat down a long, long time ago, and to quote Bob Green, so long ago that Moby Dick was only a guppy. He and I sat down the first time, and he talked about his seniors from front to back, about what they mean to the program, about what they mean to them personally. And from that time until now, that is something that I have really cherished, something that I've really liked to do. And that's what we're going to do today. So what we're going to do is we are going to hear from our coaches. They're going to talk about their seniors from top to bottom. The women's program with 4 seniors. The men have 3 seniors on the roster. But the beauty of the podcast is we get a little bit different action as well, as I put the olive branch out, if you will, to all of our senior student athletes. And we are going to hear from some of them as well. Aubrie Rademacher is going to talk about her time here at Montana Tech on the women's program. And then on the men's side, we'll actually hear from all 3 of the seniors, Michael Ure, Ifeanyi Okeke, and also Keeley Bake will sit down and chat with us. And again, we will talk to the coaches as well. So this is a pretty special day. And honestly, it's a pretty long episode. So you're going to want to make sure you have a beverage. And we're going to get into this, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thanks for joining us for Orediggers. My thanks to Coach Adam Hyatt, Coach Jeff Graham, and, of course, our seniors that were brave enough to step in and sit in my office, Aubrie Rademacher, Michael Ure, Ifeanyi Okeke, and Keeley Bake. Without further ado, let's get this thing underway. We're going to start on the women's side of things, and we're going to start actually with our student athlete in Aubrie Rademacher. Aubrie Rademacher, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm getting ready. We're getting ready for Senior Day. It has become one of my favorite days of the year as I've gotten older and older, just watching, kids, if you will. I'll throw the air quotes up. You watch them come in as freshmen, going out as a senior. I guess first and foremost, how is this settled with you that it's Senior Day and you're going to be out on the floor today?
Oh, gosh. It makes me sad. Really excited, though. I am happy that I was able to spend 5 years here at Montana Tech. Doesn't feel real, though.
Yeah. I bet when you look back, is it one of those where it feels like you've been here forever, but yet it feels like you only kind of just got here at times?
Yes. Yeah, it kind of feels like just yesterday I was moving into the dorms. Meeting my roommate, Michael Ure, for the first time, meeting my teammates. But, yeah, no, it went by so fast.
Do you remember? So give us the rundown on, recruitment and how you ended up coming to Montana Tech.
So I was recruited my senior year. Early, I had sent out some highlight tapes. Kind of decided after a while maybe I wasn't going to go the college route. But it wasn't really until state basketball my senior year when I was stripped of my last game ever. Well, I thought it was going to be my last game ever because I wasn't sure if I was going to continue playing at Bozeman. We were playing to go into the 3rd, 4th place game, and we were told that night that we would not be playing that game.
Yeah.
And I decided
as
right
far
after
as COVID,
that.
for people, it would have been Friday and Saturday, and all the high schools, the basketball tournaments, those Saturdays were shut down entirely.
Yeah, yep. Should have mentioned that 2020 grad.
Nope,
yeah, so it was right then and there when I decided I couldn't be done playing. I wasn't ready, and Coach Sand and Coach Bolstad had made a great effort coming and recruiting me, and I thought I'd really like the program, and I was right.
There you go. So let's talk about that, because you're in kind of a unique situation where you were with Coach with Sand and Bolstad, and Coach Graham comes in. Talk about that transition. Was that something you were nervous about, or how did that all come together for you?
I wouldn't say I was exactly nervous about it. I had heard from Danny Ure, because, she played for him all through high school. And, she told me that he was a really intense coach. And Coach Sandin did a good job of coaching us, being intense on us. So I think she prepped me well for that. I had a lot of male coaches, so I knew how males could be.
Yep.
No, he's awesome, though. I think the transition, I thought it was smooth. I mean, it was kind of odd going so fast because we didn't know that we had him as our coach until August of, I think it was 2022, maybe? Was it 2022?
I don't know. The math, it just escapes me.
Yeah, right. Me too. But yeah, no, I think he came in and it was just like an instant click. I thought that it was a really smooth transition.
So when you look back, if you could talk to yourself as a freshman now, what are the things you've learned? What would you be like, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to stop doing? Like the growth moments, what are the big things you talk to yourself about?
The biggest thing that I learned, and I credit this to Coach Graham the most, when I came in to Tech and just throughout basketball and, I played volleyball, I did track, I was always really, really hard on myself, screwing up, not performing to the best of my ability, like I'd have a hard time letting mistakes go, and ultimately it would affect my playing. Coach Graham was really good with like telling us, just let it roll off your back. It's not that big of a deal, and if you hold on to something, it's going to affect the next play, and you need to just like be able to let go, keep playing, because you got something more to play for than what you just did,
Yeah.
I would say that was the biggest thing that I learned. Also, just trusting the process. I mean, it's hard coming into college. Everyone's great when they're in high school.
Yep.
And you come to college and everyone is the same, if not better. There's a lot of competition. And I think a lot of times people expect to kind of come in, I'm going to have that starting role right away. I'm going to do all these things. And there's a lot of development to do. And I think that's something important to learn as a freshman, just coming in.
I feel like both of those points are not easy things to adjust to, easy things to learn. So, I mean, good on you that you're able to transition that, because it's easy to say, just let it go. Let it go. But to actually put it into action is a completely different factor.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is I don't think I could do it. I'm not going to lie.
You could.
So let's talk about this year. With Coach Graham, you come in here to year 3. You know that there are you know that the pieces are coming into place and the team is together. Talk about how this year has gone. You've obviously had tremendous success throughout your career here at Montana Tech, but this year everything is coming together. Talk about that learning process of, for lack of a better way to put it, really learning how to win.
Yeah, so I would say a lot of us came from winning cultures. A lot of our high school teams did very well. We have girls that have played in multiple state championships or whatever, I would say that a lot of it has to do with our preparation and stuff, and just how well our girls mesh together. I've never been on a team with girls who have all wanted the same thing so much. We get along so well. The chemistry is just unreal, and it's kind of been that way. I'd say it's kind of the Tech way of the past few years, and being with a bunch of different groups of girls. It's just everybody treats each other so well, and when you're all working towards the same thing and you all like each other,
there's a whole lot to be said for that.
It makes it that much easier, that much more enjoyable. It's fun showing up every single day, hanging out with the same group of girls. I wouldn't choose anybody else, and I think that together that has set us up for a lot of success.
It's interesting because I asked Coach about that. I felt like I'm removed to a point, and it really feels like you guys are a very much cohesive unit. And like you say, you go so hard in practice. It feels like your preparation is top notch. This has been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to be around, and certainly as things get set up going towards tournament and beyond, it's exciting to see what's in front of you.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So what are your big memories? If I'm gonna let's scratch that surface a little bit. When you think about your time here, what are your big games? What are your big memories, either on court or off?
Oh gosh, I'll start with off court,
Okay.
Which and this seems so little and people wouldn't, but I think some of my favorite memories here at Montana Tech were bus trips.
Okay.
And hanging out with the girls in the hotels. We do those fun Arizona trips. Those have been super fun, especially this year because we got to go down and compete against a couple teams who were receiving votes.
Yep.
The number 3 team. And, I mean, we had a lot of success. We went 2-1, which was better than I have done since I've been here at Montana Tech.
And I think better than the Frontier Conference. I think you guys came away with it in a much better light than most teams in the Frontier did down there.
Yeah, so that was definitely fun. We've done some Portland trips, which have been really fun. I would say as far as games, I mean, nothing's going to beat the feeling of beating Carroll for the first time. Yeah. I mean, I've never done that before. It was the last team that I had to check off the list. And I think it was the last gym when we went there last week to check off a win also. So
that's huge. I mean, and rivalry and everything aside, going into that building and getting a win, that's a big deal, and that feels like one of the springboards as far as the remainder of the Frontier tournament and possibly beyond. Yeah. That win feels like it will help a whole lot if we're to move on to a host site.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yep, and it's just coming in and playing such a well-coached team. I mean, they've always been really well-coached. They're hard to beat. So
very much so.
It's a really good feeling, super rewarding. I think that it really comes down to, like I was talking about, our preparation. It just, I'd say that was probably my favorite, and it's just like really recent, so something easy for me to think about. There's been several great moments other than that, but I think that one probably has to take the cake.
Good on you. From there, what are you, when you look at the future of this tech program? What are you excited for the rest of your teammates about? The ladies that are coming back. You've got 4 that are celebrating senior day. What are you excited for the remainder of this team moving forward?
You're talking about us in further years to come?
Yeah, as far as next year and beyond.
I think that this was a good year to set a little foundation of what we know we can accomplish. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of girls on this team who have now that kind of, what word am I looking for?
Just kind of belief and the idea of.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for them because now I think they know what it takes to win. Yeah. And not only are they going to want to win, but now they're going to expect to win. So I'm really excited to see the work that they put in, because it's just the greatest group of girls that I've ever been around, and I think that they're very deserving of winning, and like coming back and winning a conference championship in the next year or couple,
Hey, thanks, Ob. So once again, Aubrie Rademacher, one of the 4 seniors on the Montana Tech roster on the women's side of things. And how about we switch over to the coach's perspective a little bit? Head coach Jeff Graham and I sat down earlier this week to talk about all 4 of his seniors. Hey, welcome back once again as we are talking Senior Day, as Montana Tech getting ready for Senior Day. And once again, back in the studio, head coach Jeff Graham of the Montana Tech ladies. How you doing?
Better now my headset fits.
We just spent the last 30 minutes with him adjusting his headset on and off and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
For both the entertainment and for taking some time out of your day.
I love making your day, buddy.
We have a habit of getting each other's way a little bit. Brother, this is it's one of my favorite days. I love Senior Day. This is a fun day and one to look forward to.
Yeah, I always kind of dreaded it as a coach, and but kind of like you said, you learn to appreciate it and what they've done, and kind of honor them, and appreciate what they've done is the biggest thing, and it's a good crew that we're honoring today, on Saturday, so it'll be great.
Yeah, let's. I guess as a coach, walk through that, because it has to be bittersweet. Because obviously, you look at your senior leadership this year, especially, and I mean, it's going to be the same every year, where you look at those seniors that have done so much for you and have meant so much to this program. it's bittersweet where you're like, man, I wish I had you with us next year. But on the other hand, you're leaving with a degree from Tech, so your path is pretty well set.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 3 of the 4 seniors, the ones that have been here the whole time. They were Daktronic Academic Scholar All-Americans, which is pretty impressive considering, Kaya's there and Celia Molecular and Aubrie and Mace's nurse. So I mean, it's as tough as you get, and they're pulling over 3 5s every semester. Brooklyn came here, and same thing. Brooklyn's been over a 3-point in business coming from COVID online classes. She's done phenomenal. Todd does a great job with that program, but with what you're saying, like those kids are graduating with degrees here, and they're going to be set for life.
Well, let's run through them a little bit. Give us your take. Where do you want to start, brother? You've got 4 seniors that are walking for senior day, if you will. Who do you want to start with?
Yeah, we can just start alphabetically. We can start with Hankwitz. We can start with Brooklyn.
Okay.
She was our first big JC kid. When I came here, we didn't have any real bigs. We didn't have a lot of out-of-state kids, and that was one of the first things was to go hunting those, and to get one to take a chance on us was huge. And then obviously, we've been lucky having Olivia and Hadley follow, but for those kids out of state, the Oregon, like what is Montana Tech? What's Butte? Luckily Nathan came here on the visit. He's a lineman, so he was familiar with Tech's Highland program and had the kids, and loved the town. JT and him had a great visit when they were here taking things, and Lisa's really liked the education and the group of kids they're with. Brooklyn's really bonded well with the girls, living with Batto, and she's just fit in, and JC right away, and just been awesome. It's been fun to see her come out of her shell. She's pretty quiet, pretty shy kid, and it's been awesome to see her grow, and just so proud of her academically, like being 3 years of COVID and online, that's hard.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. And then even in high school with COVID, and then this year she got to stay in. They finally honored her high school team, that long after COVID,
wow.
And so she got to spend an extra day at Christmas and got home for that night practice. And, it's been awesome to see that, she'll graduate with a great degree here. And it's been cool to get to know her and the family. We got to go to Oregon this year. That was a big thing. I wanted to kind of honor her. And we got to go out and play 2 games in Oregon in front of her friends and family, which was great at Portland State and Multnomah. So we thought she deserved that, and it's been great. We're really going to miss her.
She made an immediate impact. Like you said, you hit it on the head from even my perspective that she took a huge gamble. It's one of those where you told her everything you could. You laid out the red carpet as well as you could, but she's able to make the decision, and she has just been an outstanding contributor to Montana Tech. She made a huge splash last year, and obviously role is a little different this year and has adjusted seamlessly and has been a huge factor.
Yeah, she was stuck inside a little bit more than we liked last year. She bodied. She's still playing great defensively inside this year and can play a little bit more in the perimeter with the different pieces we have with Hauber and Hadley. So it's been great. It makes us, that starting lineup's big. We're kind of a matchup nightmare for people. And, it's been great. She's our leading 3-point, shooter. And, getting those kids to, oh, wow, yeah, here at Montana Tech, and get those out of state JC posts. It's been huge. So hopefully we can continue with that.
And she fit in quickly. That's something else that's not an easy thing to do, whether it's academically or on the team. That JC transfer is always, I don't want to say a crapshoot, but it's not an easy thing for someone to do. And she made it look awful easy.
Yeah, and she was out with the kids and having dinner and lunches and around campus. The girls really liked her. I lean in a lot of what the girls say. When they take the kids to dinner and, walking around campus or being at practice and what they're like and workouts and stuff. And, the feedback was great. And the same as, it was with Hadley and Olivia. And I really trust our kids, like Aubrie and Kaya, Macy and Liv and those older kids, JC, that have been around and seen them, really liked her. And, she fits in really well. And I think they really like her because she's a heck of a cook. She can cook. And she did our team meals over Christmas. And,
I benefited from one of the team meals. She is a heck of a cook.
Yes, she is. So she did not like me and Coach Bignell's cooking. So we were gladly handed that over to her. So, but it was fun.
Yeah, it just has been an incredible asset here at Montana Tech, and one of the 4 seniors. Where do you want to go next, brother?
Yeah, just jump down to Mace then.
Okay.
Mace had a great career in high school with. Addie Ekstrom, what a duo that was defensively. It's been fun to watch them battle. Just a hard working kid. We got Malloy here, her brother. Coming off that redshirt year, like Mason, Kaya, they said they didn't do a lot in practice 5-on-5 wise. They do some skill stuff. So, that first year getting them back and implemented and into our system was great. Mace is just that long, athletic, kind of weird matchup for teams. Is
100%.
a 3-4, which we like. We can post her up. She's really good inside and, can take people off the dribble out there, and she can guard anything. I think she should be for sure on the all-defensive team. I don't think there's a question about that. If there is, it'll be interesting. But, Mace is she's a competitor. She's one of those kids that even in practice, she's on the floor. She's talking, she's diving. She doesn't want to lose, whether it's a shooting drill or a rebounding drill or, a closeout drill, whatever it is. Mace, and, there's some kids, we joke about in the past, a couple of them that would maybe alter their scores, and Mace would just call them out. Mace is like, no, that's impossible. No, not right. And she's just a competitor. She's a winner. She has great feedback. I like when I get to take her out right away and see what she likes, what we like defensively. When we're game planning for, Western tonight, what we're going to do on certain kids. And, throughout the week, Monday, Tuesday in film, Macy has a lot of input on that. And we rely on a lot of what she says. And, it's just her familiarity with the defense and the leadership. And she's always high-fiving kids. She's talking on the baseline, which is big. You don't see kids talk a lot. I really like watching our men's practice and seeing who's talking that day, who's engaged. Those kids usually have a good practice, and I think our women, our girls do a great job of talking on the sideline, and it stems from Macy there. And, just how she balances the nursing. And, we've had that with Soda and, those kids that have finished while they're playing. Most kids.
That's so hard.
Finish after. Yeah,
with their clinical hours and everything else, that is so difficult.
It's amazing. Most of those kids will come back later, another semester and finish when they're done playing. But Macy is a true 4-year graduate of the nursing program, and credit goes out, to Megan Radisky and Annie Anderson and that whole crew there, that nursing department's phenomenal working with them. But there's days in the preseason where they're like, hey, she's going to be on a 12-hour shift and, she might be a little late to lifting and, shooting or whatever she's got. But, she doesn't waver from that. And then she'll be volunteering, the first weekend helping, the Copper game. There's a few people at the Copper game, and her and Aubrie and Coach Merrifield are going to tackle handling the entire tailgate parking, things like that. She never says no to anything. She's just a great teammate and just really quiet. It's funny that they walk in and her and Kai always sit in the back, always together, no matter where they're at. They're always together and kind of in the back of there in the film room or wherever they're at dinner, and just super quiet. They've been best friends for a long time, and it's just incredible the amount of hours Macy puts in, and especially to be that great a student it's a marvel.
Yeah.
She's the epitome of what you want for a student athlete. I mean, all of them are, but that nursing is a different monster.
Big time. And I look at her, we talk about the defensive side of things. She is probably one of my favorite defensive players in the last decade. I mean, she is so good. She's so active. She just gets in people's heads so bad. And you can see her and Kaya, they work on the same wavelength where they're just so quiet. They're kind of Laurel and Hardy, and they just kind of baseline, and both are really unflappable. That's something I wish I could be, not let emotion drive me in for good or bad, normally bad. They just feel, both of them, again, just feel so level-headed and so calm in nature. It's impressive.
When you talk about trying to describe Kai, you're like just even keel, calm, very cerebral, just takes a lot of stuff in, sees stuff. She's always the one. We'll talk about her a little bit more, but that's how her and Macy are, just very calm. And I think, Aubrie mentioned that where we don't let things rattle us this year. You mentioned we didn't make a field goal last 4 minutes against Carroll and still held on.
Yeah.
We did that last year. We were down by 3, and I think we ended up losing by 12 or 13. It's just that leadership, like you said, Hadley dribbles a ball off her foot and the girls are high-fiving, laughing, let's move on, and I think that comes from.
That was it. That was the moment for me where you're like, they're fine.
Yeah.
100% fine.
They're like, you need to call time, and like, no, we're good. They were fine, and they're not going to get rattled, and Macy misses those 2 free throws. She didn't care. She came back to huddle and said, hey, we'll stop them here. We're like, moved on to the next play. It was just phenomenal, and Macy been shooting great, 68%. She'd been getting the big old boards against Carroll that other game. She had finished 2 quarters with big buckets, no boards and free throws. And I wanted her shooting the ball at the end of the game. That's a big win for them seniors. I wanted wanted her, the way she'd been playing, her and Aubrie to get a touch there and, finally experience a win at Carroll.
Yeah.
And
it's huge.
And then she made the great defensive play. She bounced back. They weren't going to fall for the little screen and the flop there. And, they made Karstedt reset in the pass. And but I think Aubrie summed it up well when she was talking to Luke about they handle adversity. And, they've been through a lot. They've been through some, those 4 tough years, and Aubrie 5 tough years, one less. But, they've turned the program around, but it's just their attitude, their willingness, and they work every day.
For someone that is, just eyeballing the scores and seeing points, things like that, they won't, like Macy isn't going to jump out at you till next year when you're like, oh, wait a second. Like, what? She just controlled everything. She was just such a tremendous defender and
rebounder.
Yeah, she's
passer.
Just so solid.
She runs that. I think teams have quit zoning us because we love her. Even in practice, she's so good at passing out of that zone and finds those soft spots. And I think she's very underrated. She makes a lot of hockey assists. I tell kids, you're a hockey guy, but our kids are like, what's a hockey assist? And Macy sets up 2 passes away. She sees things. Boom, boom, I'm hitting here. Oh, I just got Battle that shot. Or, hey, I just got Kaya shot here by making that extra pass to Avery. And she's always one step ahead on those things.
I was going to say, it feels like the game is really slow for her.
Yes.
Where she's going
year,
so much faster than the game speed is. Her mind is clicking that much faster, and she is certainly a big, big piece that will be missed moving forward.
Yeah, we saw the potential in her. Like JT said, she'll be fine. She's young. That sophomore year, she hadn't played for a year, and the speed of that college game is tough. And then last year gave us great minutes, and this year earned herself into a starting spot and was just, like you said, it's really slowed down. Her and Kai are they're very smart, and they see things opening up before a lot of other kids do.
I guess it wouldn't be alphabetical, but let's just go to Kaya. We've been bringing them together. They're obviously great friends, and they have a very similar mindset. Their game style is a little bit different at times, but you can certainly see a whole lot of similarities.
Yeah, when you hear you and JT talk about it on the radio, how much Kaya's defense has improved. That was the big thing. Like last year, JT's like she's got to improve defensively to get on the court and she's starting to get those steals and tips. And when she plays really aggressive and isn't tentative and low in the gaps and stuff, when she's aggressive and that's when her sparks her offense. It's kind of like Battle. Battle had 3 steals for layups the other day, and when she's up aggressive in that D and she gets things going because she spends the most time on just play. She's on the most time of our scout. Yesterday, coach did kind of a funny thing. And what's new did I add today? And I had a little joke in there of if you'd read it, boom, Kaya gets in there. You could tell she'd been on it Monday, Tuesday. Everybody else is thumbing through. Coach is laughing. And I was like, oh, Kaya's been on here the last 2 days. Noticed right away wins, and she's very smart. She sees things. She's be a great coach someday. But yeah, it's been fun to watch her and Macy grow.
Do you see that in her future? Do you think she wants to be a coach? Does she have coaching in
I
front of
don't
her?
know. I hope so. She's so good at camps with kids. Her and Macy both. Like, it takes a special kids to, especially the little kid camp. There's certain kids that you can stick down with, those JC
with
and Rach. Yeah, it's hard to have 3rd, 4th grade girls once in a while, let alone go even lower that kindergarten first. And they're so patient. But that's Macy's bedside manner. That's how she's going to be as a nurse, And Kaya now she's been kind of looking at some different things, and she's going to go do the quick little, I shouldn't say quick, but the nursing thing in Billings. Like she was, trying to find something she could do and be able to live home and be up, back in that area, whether it's PT or PA or something. But they're just going to be so good with dealing with whether it's kids to, grandparents and older people, their manners, and that's a perfect profession for those two. And
I think of Kaya and over the last couple of years, you expected her to step up and hit a big one. She has that incredible range, that calmness helps her a ton from the 3-point line. But it all, like, I don't even know any way to put it other than like it pales in comparison to how much she has worked defensively this year. She has been so good. The amount of steals she has gotten, translating into easy buckets on the other end. Huge momentum swings caused by her getting steals or block shots. I think Kaya has just had a fantastic season for you guys.
Yeah, she's longer than you think.
Yes.
She's a taller guard, and when she's aggressive and she rebounds, we love it when she pushes. We showed 4 or 5 things the other day of against Western where Kaya gets the board, and same thing, it's a hockey assist because she pushes it up so quick. You know, she's so good in that style of pushing the ball up the court, and you know, she's worked on stepping into her shot this year. You know, that's been the biggest key, is getting it quicker and stepping in there and finishing. You know, she's shooting around, I think, like 35% this year. She's doubled where she's been the previous 2 years, and you know, it's strength, it's confidence, and it's you know, stepping into those shots like you said. And you know, it's been a big, you know, there's been some big games where she steps up and goes, and there's some big games where, you know, it's defensively too, where she steps up. So it's been great to see.
What and Kaya is studying what currently, did you say?
So she's like Aubrie, like exercise, health and science, cellular and like biology, but she's going to go do a nursing thing and do a little like 1 year nursing thing there in Billings, it sounds like. And, you know, it's kind of like Aubrie. She's still kind of undecided. It's, you know, they dabble in so many different things, and you know, they're in the cell stuff, which is, I mean, ridiculous. You need animals to people, but yeah, it's kind of crazy what those guys do. So you know, that'll make her very marketable when she's up there, and it'll be great. They'll be perfect professions for those two.
Yeah. And I guess, does that bring us to Aubrie?
Unfortunately, save the worst for last, right? We always say.
All right,
Old
fine.
Aubs.
All right, fine. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about Aubrie on your team?
I'd say growth of her mentality of approaching practice, weights, film from her sophomore year till now has been ridiculous. The growth she's shown, the maturity, the leadership. You know, it was a different culture when we got here. Things were just different, and the way Aubs has stepped up to, like, this summer. You know, you're here early, and she's dang near beating you to the weight room and gym every day.
No, I don't go to the weight room.
But sorry to work.
I mean, I walk past both when I make coffee. That's about it.
The mentality and the shift and the leadership of, you know, her organizing stuff. It's been amazing. Like we saw that potential in our first year. We played Walla Walla, and Coach Tony, you know, he was on the Western National Championship team, known him forever, and he looks over, and I think Aubs hit a couple threes. You know, and he says, when did she learn how to shoot threes? You know, her sophomore year. I was like, well, we're just, you know, trying to pull her out a little bit. She's got some talent, the guard wise there. I think she's been, you know, when you're bigger like that in high school, and you're going to be kind of pigeonholed into that post. And, you know, JT and I thought right away, man, she's a matchup nightmare. She is what we want to get with kids, like with those long, tall, her and Macy, and kids that can shoot it and stretch it. And she's put in the time and the effort. You know, she's in the gym already today. Yep. Right. I mean, she's one of the first ones in there every day. She's, I think, leading our team, and you know, most shots per week, you know, in the off season, or, you know, off time. And that growth has been good. She's really taken it seriously. She's always taken her studies seriously, but I think she's seen the balance of it, and her approach is just awesome. I'd say her growth as a person and as a leader and as a worker has been much better.
It almost felt like she was a vocal leader last year, and that has turned into a leader by more of example this year. You know, that kind of, all right, like, guess what, we're going to go. Yep. I think and the other one that really gets me is she is strong. I mean, when she gets down, when she gets into rebound mode, because you can see it switch in her. When she's like, there is no one going to take that away from me, she's scary. I mean, she is a tremendous rebounder.
She's just got that fierceness and meanness. But, you know, when I show up to work at whatever it is, 8:30 in the summer, and you already got her and Keeley Bake already gotten shots up and already lifted. I mean, look at it just shows the strength, you know, because it's hard to maintain that weight room strength in the summer, especially season, you know, when you're lifting once a week or so. But once again, Aubs is in there on her own, lifting on Sunday, Mondays, you know, just getting that extra. And it's just that mentality. And, you know, we've gotten a lot of compliments on our team, thanks to Coach Bignell, about the physicality and how strong they are. And, you know, her off-season and preseason condition. You could tell who's done it. You could tell who came into shape and who was ready to go. And, you know, it just builds that confidence.
You can't hide that.
No. And,
when you come in for early season conditioning, you can't hide if you've been working on your own or not.
Yep. And it was just, you know, amazing, the testing and the lifting. It's like, wow. And they're starting to see that. And I think Aubs, setting the tone. We didn't have a weight program when I got here. It was just kind of, you lift a little bit. And, in the spring, I'm like, Coach Hyatt, what do they, during the season? He's like, well, they've never really done much, and it's kind of lifting your own or, here's your workouts. But I think doing the team workouts together has been huge, getting them together afterwards. And, it's been fun to see the strength and the confidence that it's built. And she's really bought into the weight room.
Talk about the foundation that you think these four have built for this program moving forward.
I think it's the toughness, just showing up every day to practice, competing every day, every drill. That's, I remember just our first few practices, it was just different how things were. And, Matt's like, hey, it's a different intensity level. They'll get there. You expect a lot. It's going to change, but learning how to practice hard, and those guys were with us that first year. And then I thought last year was awesome. Last year we had great practices, competitive, Sods and Al, those guys, we had a great group of kids that they flat got after it, and worked their butts off. And I think that has trickled down. And then the freshmen and JCs we brought in, those were the type of kids, and that's how they practice. So it's been seamless. And I think the toughness and the competitiveness that those guys, they don't want to win any drill. It's a couple times I have to remind them, if we have 3 teams and, Macy especially, she likes to cheer for everybody. And hey, don't cheer for her to make that shot. We don't want Chloe to make that shot. She's on the other team. Oh, I know. We want to beat the green team here, dude. But it's fun to see, their competitiveness. But that's changed a lot. It's been great. They push each other, but they still support each other, and it's been fun. We just had great year of practice, and I think it's shown we've improved a ton. We've really grown since that first game at first 2 games at MSUB and Dickinson.
Even from that first weekend in the Frontier,
yeah,
I think there is incredible growth. I think that the strides you have made from week 1 until now are just incredible.
Yeah, people don't know how tough the Frontier is, and we're trotting out some new kids and Hads and those freshmen that hadn't experienced the Frontier yet. And you're like, whoa, this is a different type of intensity and level of play. And there's hopefully 4 national tournament teams that you're going against, and Western and Northern have been there too. So it's you don't get a night off in this league, and so I think they've adjusted and adapted. You've seen those guys grow, and even Chloe and Avery, we didn't throw them in the fire till end of last year, so they were still pretty young as the year went. And Battle's a true freshman, so or a redshirt freshman, so you're throwing a lot of new kids in, and so Macy and Kai and B and Liv, they've done a good job of leading that new team. There's about 3 kids with a lot of experience, or 4 counting Hobbs. Geez, I forget, or 4 with 5 with Liv, but our 4 seniors, and it's been huge.
Yeah. Senior day. Anything else you want to say to them, their families, or anything along those lines?
No, just their families. They've done a great job with their kids. They've raised great people who are going to be, great mothers and great wives and, just great employees, bosses. I'm sure a lot of these guys, just the families, it goes quick, they don't realize it's holy smokes, it's already senior night, these guys in the 4 years. And we talk about that being, I think Kai that said, hey, let's be where our feet are this year. We were more of a growth year last year. And Kai said, let's enjoy this year. Let's win some games. And what's our why? They talked about what's our why, and they have a cool little board in their room with some pictures. And I think they've really embraced each other in the season. And, like Batto said, they're all great friends, and, it helps. And, we're really going to miss them, but we're hoping we have a great conference tournament, and then maybe we can, sneak in the national tournament, get a couple more weeks. That'd be the best way to send those kids off. Those 4 really, really deserve it for the amount of time, effort and work they've put in.
Head coach Jeff Graham talking about his senior class and an incredible group of student athletes. And they truly are student athletes, just great people, and are ready to see what is next for all 4 of those young ladies. It's time for us to turn to the other side of the coin and talk about the men's seniors. There are 3 seniors on the men's roster for Coach Adam Hyatt here this year, guys that have been the absolute backbone of this program for several years now. We'll hear from Coach Adam Hyatt later, but we're going to talk to our student athletes first. Ladies and gentlemen, first out of the gate is going to be Mr. Michael Ure. Mike, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good.
I really appreciate you coming in. Obviously, it's a little crazy time of year. Senior Day has, I was talking with Aubrie about it earlier. Senior Day is just one of my favorite days. I'm a fan first. And I love the Frontier Conference. I love Orediger athletics and being able to be around the athletes, see you guys get to this point. This has to be a little, is it warm, cold? Is it a little reality, kind of not real, the idea of it coming to Senior Day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to focus on the next game, like a little at a time, but it's kind of nuts to think about. I'm in my 4th year. I'm at the end of my 4th year. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've put so much time and effort throughout my entire life to play basketball and to become the best version of myself, but to see all that kind of wrap up a little bit, it's coming to an end. So it's kind of weird to think about, you know what I mean?
It's very much so.
A big part of my life, you know what I mean? So,
well, and you have an interesting path here. One that isn't kind of normal in this area. Whereas you were being recruited pretty heavily, I assume, by Coach before he even came to Montana Tech. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going to, so Coach Hyatt hosts these summer basketball camps.
Yep.
And I've been going to his basketball camps since he was at Westminster for years, since I was really, really young. And then he switched schools, came up to Montana Tech, and then I started coming to his camps up here. And then, I just kept getting better and better year by year. And one thing kind of led to another. And this is where I am. You know what I mean? It's cool to think about because when I was young, I mean, I took a lot of the principles that he took in those camps, and I worked on them all the time. And so it's like he's had a big influence on who I became as a player, not only now, but back then too in high school, because those drills that we would do, or just the way that he would construct those camps and the competition that there was, they were really fun. And so I was able to work on those skills not only at camp but throughout the years. And like I said, every year I'd just come back and I liked how I was improving, and here I am. So
in those camps, those are fun to talk to about people. Because it really feels like those camps. And again, I've never been in that gym during that camp, but it sounds like they're intense. It sounds like there's a whole lot of learning put in. It's not a roll the ball out and play 5-on-5. It is a significant situation when you sign up for those camps. When did you start going to his kind of high intensity summer camps?
When was that? 6th grade?
Really?
I mean, I was maybe long, 5th grade. Like I was a little kid.
Wow.
And so I mean, they're loads of fun, and they are high intensity. Like, you're nonstop for 12 straight hours, 3 days, and then Thursday, the last day, is competition day. So all the championships, all the tournaments, all the fun stuff the whole thing is fun. You do get pretty tired by the end of that, though. Let me tell you, 3 straight days of basketball, being on your feet for 12 hours, and then. Or however long it is, and then having that championship day. But it's loads of fun because it's not just like you said. It's not just 5-on-5. You have 1-on-1. You have 3-on-3. You have 2-on-2 full court. You have 5-on-5. You have all the 3-on-3 half court. It's like you have all of these different competitions and different games, particular, for lack of better words.
Yep.
And then in between all that, you have all the skill development stuff. So you have different ways to attack, different ways to approach a 3-on-3, different ways to approach playing your ball handling, and we work on your shooting, you work on, everything. So it's kind of all jam-packed, tons of learning, tons of improvement within 3-4 days. So they're good camps.
You've been leashed to it for a long time. Going back to 5th, 6th grade, into high school, you get the Gatorade Player of the Year for Idaho. Was it your senior year? Is that right?
Yeah, that was my senior year.
And you have an interesting path in that. Coach Hyatt obviously knocking down your door, trying to get you here. And after high school, you went on your mission.
Yes, I did. I had always planned to go on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
I was planning on going on a 2-year mission for as long as I can remember. And one thing I remember was how supportive Coach was about it.
Mm-hmm.
How it was something that I felt very strongly about, and he was incredibly supportive and saw that after 2 years worth, I can come back and still play.
Yeah.
And so I went for it, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Good for you.
Sure.
Wait, let me. I don't think I've ever asked. Where did you go on your mission?
So I went there pre-COVID. So I went to Chile, Santiago, Chile.
Okay.
And then when COVID hit, they sent all the missionaries home. So I actually ended up back in Idaho for 2 months while they were reassigning everybody.
Okay.
And then I went reassigned to California. So I was in Bakersfield for a little while, for about 10 months.
Just like Santiago, Chile.
Yeah. and then they sent me back to Santiago for 4 months. So I was kind of bouncing all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Good for you.
Yeah, it was an adventure. I learned so much throughout those 2 years.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
It was great.
And I remember, so I'm a big fan of when I feel pretty lucky in the fact that even when I was in radio, Coach Hyatt every once in a while would send me like game film or huddle videos. And Coach Morrell was another one that like knew that, I don't know, like I have a weird fascination with that stuff of why, you know, people are being recruited, and I like the coach's mind, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember him sending me your video, and he's like, "He'll be here in 2 years," and it was one of those. I'm like, "What?" Like, hold on a second. So, how much were you able to work out, in your opinion, during that span?
I mean, you get some time in the morning. I mean, you kind of a lot of it. So when I was before COVID, like we were on the streets walking around the whole time. So in the morning, you get some exercise in. You know, you get some cardio, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you're walking around all day. And so it's like you get a lot of decent exercise doing that.
Not like cardio action.
Yeah, not like collegiate athlete type, but I mean you're still moving around. When COVID hit, we did a lot of stuff remote. And so, I mean, we'd work out in the mornings, but it was like you had that short period in the morning, and then you're doing video calls, and you're studying, and you're doing more video calls, and you're just sitting around, and it's like, in between calls, you do some push-ups and stuff. It's like, and so I remember we would try to go out. I mean, definitely in the mornings trying to do different stuff, but it wasn't as much as I would have liked per se, because we ended up doing a lot of stuff from within the apartment. I mean, it's just how it was
COVID.
during that
There's
time.
only so much you can do.
Yeah. And then along with that, like as far as a basketball goes, I mean, in Chile, I mean, there probably are some, but where I was located, I was not able to find really like an indoor basketball court. I mean, there were some outdoor hoops and stuff. And so I'd very occasionally go and like when I had that opportunity to go and play ball. But it was like not like super, you know what I mean? It wasn't.
Oh, completely.
And so I'd be able to get some shots up and whatnot. But it was a unique experience in that sense.
And I'm kind of looking forward to, and I'm kind of leading to the question of, how eye-opening was it to get back to game speed? You know, when you step into a gym with 9 other guys or more, or whatever the case is, how eye-opening or how much of a slap in the face was it that first time you're like, oh yeah, this is how fast the game moves?
Yeah, not only that, but like it was like a step up from high school too. So it's like it's faster than. I mean, I'd come up for visits and I'd come up for like different things where I'd play a little bit. But I got back and I was not in collegiate basketball shape. I was not. There's a rhythm that you need to have to like, and a confidence that you need to play with to be able to play with the. You have the skill, but you have to be able to use it. Yeah. And so have like 2 years away from competitive basketball is like the rhythm you had is you have to find that again. And then being out of shape doesn't help. I mean, you get a good bucket on the offensive end, and you're like, holy cow, I gotta go back to the other end now, or vice versa, defense to offense. But it's you have to find your rhythm again. You have to find that confidence again that you can do all the things that you can do. And it was a big slap in the face. Like it was an adjustment for sure. It took me a minute, but I eventually started to slowly come along. Yeah. Little by little, because ultimately I knew that it was going to have to come, little by little. Like I was where I was, and I couldn't, kid myself. Like I needed to get into shape. So, okay, that's the first thing. I got to go get into shape, and then I need to go and get my confidence and get my rhythm back. You know what I mean? So it's like I can do what I feel like I want to do on the court.
I like the fact that you keep talking about the idea of confidence and rhythm. I think confidence is one of those where it's easy to talk about, but the idea of having it, possessing it and utilizing that. Talk about the rhythm side of it a little bit more for somebody that might not be a hoop fan or, might have never played. Kind of give us an example of what you're talking as far as rhythm goes.
Yeah. So an example I can think of offhand is situations where you get a look and it's like a good look for the team, but not only that, but it's like a good look for you. Like this is a shot that I'm going to hit because I know I can hit it, but it's like the rhythm of like, oh, maybe I should swing it or maybe I should, drive this guy instead. And rather than just playing and letting the game game come to you, you kind of start thinking what's like the logical move here when really you should just think a little bit less and just play basketball the way you've been playing, the way you know how to play.
Gotcha.
And it's vice versa with driving. Like, you drive a closeout and then you see the help side, kicking it out. So it's like kind of making those game time reads. And then when you like catch a kick out, not hesitating, you know what I mean? Like, you're just gonna, okay, if this ball comes to me, I'm throwing this at the rim, I'm shooting it. And so it's that it's the hesitation, I guess, eliminating the hesitation that you have to make decisions, and in that sense, with shooting, with driving, with defensive stuff too. I mean, there's a super quick small reads you have to make on the defensive end that when you haven't seen it for a couple of years, it comes back to you eventually, but you have to get used to it again. So.
When you look back at yourself as a freshman, if you can think in those terms, the idea of where you sit now as opposed to where you were then, what are the big things for you? What have you learned? What have you gathered? Or what would you tell yourself differently to try and ease the process?
I would say don't overthink it. Just keep working hard.
I assume that's something hard for you, because for those that don't know, the idea of a scholar athlete, I mean, you should be the picture of that. You're an incredibly bright student. Are you in bio? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Are you in biology?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you're unaware of the biology program at Montana Tech, there's some pretty good things that come out of it. And you're like a 4-point student. I mean, you are the student athlete as far as Montana Tech goes.
Yeah. Academics has played a huge role in my time here. It's taken up a lot of time to study and to work hard towards other goals that I have as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would tell myself to not overthink it. I mean, it's a game where you work your tail end off, and something happens. You do some extra conditioning because something happens, but then you just get back on the floor and play, and find the joy in the game, because at the end of the day, this game's a fun game to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the game that I fell in love with when I was a kid, and it's still the same game today. And so I would just say, little by little, you'll work your way back into it, and just find joy along the process of hard work and getting back to where you can be.
What are the moments that have given you most joy since you've been at Montana Tech, whether it's on court or off court? What are the big bright spots for you personally in your time here at Tech?
Oh man, what a question. There's quite a few, and a lot of them come from finding accomplishment within hard work. And so I would say there are moments, for example, like my sophomore year when we make that deep run into nationals, and we're kind of clicking as a team, and we're winning these tough games. Yeah. That year we had so many overtime games, like close games late too, and it was like, at the end of the game, it could have been anybody who takes the shot, makes the shot, who's playing well, and to make a deep run in a year like that, those successful moments feel really good because you know how hard you worked throughout the year, and then you're doing it with a group of guys like we have and like we've had, and it's like you're so proud of yourself and you're so proud of all the guys that you've been working hard with all year, and so finding the success in those moments, kind of in the phrase, hard work pays off, like that's it's true. Like it was very satisfying. You kind of feel really proud of yourself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I'd say some of those moments. I mean, we've had plenty of moments like that, or there's little moments like that. So there's team moments, but then there's also moments where I might have a good game, and then it's like, oh man, I feel good in the sense of I've worked really hard to be able to do something like this.
Yes.
Those moments are the most satisfying, the most joyful to me, because it's something that I've earned. You know what I mean?
100%. I think of, it's real easy to think of like the game against Northern when you couldn't miss. Like you could have closed your eyes and thrown anything in the air and it'd have fallen through the bottom of the net. But the moments when I think about you are those just hard-nosed moments where, you're not a 5. You're not a wide body. You're not a guy that's going to go down and throw people around, but yet you'll stack up against anybody. Doesn't matter who it is. You're going to lean into them. You're going to take your bruises, and those are the moments where I just love you. I mean, where just because I'm not you most of the time, because you're getting battered, week in, week out. But you see that confidence, that belief in yourself, and kind of I'm taking one for the team, for lack of a better way to put it. You have put in your time, and you certainly have come away with some deep bruises, but have really stacked up some big team wins for Montana Tech.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's the whole thing is a team effort too, because there were guys in that game finding me shots. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like there were moments when people were passing up to give me an extra shot, and it was really, I'm really grateful for those moments. You know what I mean? And then you mentioned the defensive end as well. I mean, I've been playing against guys like Taylor England and Bridger Larson, and huge brutes of guys who are very skilled offensively and defensively. Where I've learned so much of man, throughout the year, it took me. I mean, again, progress is a little step-by-step thing, but I've had lots of people and players and veterans in the Montana Tech program and coaches that have coached me to help me perform in the ways that I'm happy that I can perform in, if that makes sense.
It does. And we've seen, I mean, this program has just continued to climb, and you have been a part of that climb. But is it pretty cool to go to different venues, whether it's Missoula or even here or anywhere else, and you look in the stands and you see guys like Darius Collins that are obviously not very far removed from you, but also, part of that building process. Taylor England, I've seen him in the gym an awful lot, as he started coaching this year, and then we've seen him out. What is that like to go back and see full gyms, but see guys that, again, you're not far removed from, but yet, they're kind of the foundation of what you have continued to build on?
Absolutely. It makes me very proud to put on a Montana Tech jersey, because these guys that you're mentioning are super tough guys, you know what I mean, who have made Montana Tech the program that it is today. And so to be able to put on a jersey that represents not only the school and the university itself, but all the guys that have come before, it makes me very proud to be a part of something like this, to all the greats that I've played with, like, Sindhu and Taylor and Darius Collins, Drew Hughes, or, Asa Williams, Caleb Bellich, you know what I mean? Like all these guys that help make the program what it is. Like it's a very humbling moment. And so every single time I step on the floor, not only am I like working hard for the guys next to me, but it's also all the guys before me too, because I want to perform the best for our guys, but for the university and the alum and everyone that's involved in this whole process.
I think it's really telling over the last several years where the biggest celebrations for individuals, big games, are always their teammates. That always has. It strikes me every time, around these Coach Hyatt teams, because that's the vibe or the feeling of these teams is you're so together and you're such a part of each other. You're more happy for someone else to have a huge successful game than you are for yourself, it feels like.
Yeah, no doubt. It's fun to be a part of a program like that too, because then it makes basketball really enjoyable. You know what I mean? You have Keeley hits this big dagger, you know what I mean? And everyone's hyping him up. And I mean, we still got to go out and get a stop, but it's like we're so excited for him, or just other situations similar to that. Yeah. It's nice to know that we're all rooting for each other genuinely to succeed. Yeah. And I think that makes a team a good team when you have selfless guys who are willing to sacrifice for one another. Especially when all the guys are incredibly talented like we have, this year and in years past. I mean, when we're incredibly talented and we're all just willing to sacrifice for each other and want the best for each other, it's a special thing to be a part of.
Well, you certainly have earned an incredible place in this Montana Tech history. I think you're currently at number 10 on the all-time scoring list in this institution, with some incredible names on that list as well. Does something like that resonate with you? Because I think that's where you're at right now, is 10th. And that could climb, obviously, as this season goes. But does something along those lines, does that stick yet?
I haven't really been paying too much attention to that, quite honestly. I mean, I'm trying to just one foot in front of the other, take down the next, work hard to work towards competing against our next opponent. So I'm not really focused on that. I'm sure that'll years down the line that'll resonate a little more, but that hasn't been something I've put a whole bunch of attention into so far. So
well, hopefully we have a whole slew of games remaining where you can add to those totals, my friend. Mike, thanks for everything you've done for Montana Tech, for Montana Tech athletics, and me personally. You are an Oredigger, my friend, and a happy senior day.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Hey, thanks, Mike. Really appreciate you taking time to join me and chat about this senior day upcoming. Let's keep this ball rolling, shall we? Let's go to Ifeanyi Okeke, ladies and gentlemen, our second of 3 seniors here on the men's side. Ifeanyi Okeke, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm really excited to sit down and talk to you. I'm just a fan of yours. I love the way you play the game. I don't think you know the word stop or slow down, and I absolutely love you for it. So I'm excited for this.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to be here, man. Thanks for the opportunity.
Let's talk about senior day. So when you think about senior day coming up, what are the things you think of? Do you get nervous? Are you excited? Kind of walk us through how you are mentally about that.
I think more excited. Not really nervous, but more excited just for what's to come. I feel like senior night, everyone has this whole look where it's like, oh, it's over. But like, I don't know, my outlook on it is it's just the start to something new, a new chapter. Senior night, it's definitely emotional. Definitely brings, definitely reminds me of just all the hard work, all the 22s, all the, all just the grind here and at Carroll and just my college career in general. All of it, just all the work I put in just to get to this point. It's kind of just, when I think of senior night, that's kind of what I think of, just what it took to get here.
Yeah, and you have worked your tail off. I like the idea that, we have 3 seniors that are incredible leaders, are incredible people, all incredibly smart. The academic side of it is very important for all of you. And the one thing that I all of the stories to get here are all different. Keeley, straight out of high school, knew that was his path. And Michael wins the Gatorade Player of the Year in Idaho, goes on his mission for a couple of years, and then finds his way here. And like you said earlier, you started at Carroll College, ended up transferring here. Kind of walk us through that a little bit, if you don't mind, and the kind of mindsets and what made you make that decision or make that step.
Sure. Just coming out of Carroll, I was kind of just really looking for the right fit in terms of a coach. I feel like before I had made the switch here, just that relationship with the coach, that one-on-one, I kind of didn't get that at Carroll. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really get it in my high school either, just because I didn't play varsity till later years, my junior, my senior year. And so I didn't really get that, chance to get close with the coach. And so really what I was looking for in just the recruitment process and just that next home is just a coach that I could rely on, a coach that I could talk to, a coach that, I could speak to, and, it's just it's more to it than just the game of basketball. And I feel like, Coach Hyatt has shown all of that, just through that process, through that transition. And then even, just being here these last 3 years, I've grown tremendously as a person, as a man, on the court, off the court, just because of him. And, I think that relationship is a big deal. I think it's probably the biggest deal in terms of picking a home, picking where you want to go for those next however many years you have, or whatever the case is. So, I think the whole recruitment process and just my path here really just came from just Coach Hyatt, him being the first person to reach out to me, and not even on, terms of just, oh, come to my school, you'll love it. It's just like, hey, how you doing? What's going on with your situation? How's the whole, thing playing out, and how are you feeling? So like, just all those questions and him, showing that side of him kind of just made it seem like, okay, yeah, it's deeper than basketball, and it made the decision really easy to come here, honestly.
I like that you're open about it, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot about it. I'm certainly not trying to give anybody blackboard material, but there is certainly something to be said about making sure you're in the right spot. In today's day and age with the NIL, and we all look at college football and go, holy man, what in the blue heck is going on there, with guys moving around and paycheck to paycheck. But there is a whole lot to be said about, initially, if that isn't the place for you, knowing that that's the case and making sure you find a home. And I think that's certainly the case for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously with NIL and all that other stuff, things tend to get crazy. And I feel like now the NCAA has turned sports into a true business, you know, like with college athletics, you know, it kind of, you know, that integrity of just, you know, it being just about the sports and nothing more has completely changed over the last few years. And, you know, it puts a lot of pressure on students and, you know, just deciding where they want to go. And so I think, you know, those smaller things like I was talking about earlier, and just that relationship with the coach and, you know, just them caring about you, you know, as an individual. I think that, you know, that should be a huge deciding factor, you know, for that decision, you know, for people who want to find that next home.
So my other question is the fact that you transferred in conference. Have your opinions I assume you had opinions about teams and about rivalries when you were in Helena?
Yeah.
And how does that all change when you turn the other side of the quarter? You know, the perspective change has to be pretty drastic.
Yeah, perspective change is drastic in terms of just me going from a rival school to another rival school. I mean, I feel like it'd be one thing if I went from Carroll to Rocky or Carroll to, you know, Providence. You know, the rivalry is not as strong, but going from there to here and just being 45, 50 minutes apart, it's definitely a huge different perspective. And I think, you know, just in terms of competitiveness, I feel that rivalry and that respect for other teams more here than I did over there at Carroll, just because I feel like, you know, just care more here, you know, just more prioritized.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to continue down that path for just a moment again, is watching you guys warm up when we were in Helena the last time.
Sure.
There is obviously something different for you. You know, you and Braden obviously on that page where does it feel like, are you packing an extra weight that day? Do you feel like there's more pressure on you, or how do you, because mentally there has to be something different about those games.
Yeah, sure. You know, those games, I kind of just take it kind of just the same approach as I take every other game, because, you know, you want to have that consistency as far as the focus and the routine and what you're doing every day. But I feel like there's definitely that mental block in your head where you're just like, you know, I definitely want to use this opportunity to prove, you know, people wrong, you know, prove that, you know, whatever decisions were made in the past, that, you know, I want them to feel that. I want them to feel some sort of regret or some sort of, you know, like, oh, I made a mistake, I messed up. So I think just having that in the back of my mind is just motivation enough to take those games a little more personal than, you know, when we play other schools.
When you look at yourself as a freshman in the Frontier Conference, and from your perspective now, how much? Talk about your change. I would have to seem, you know, Coach and I were actually talking about you know, playing at Carroll when you were a freshman, and, you know, you've always been so athletic and so long. You know, you were a string bean when you strolled in, man. Like, you were so thin, and just such a different player. Talk about that growth and how you have changed, you know, from year one to now.
Sure. Year one, I came in $165, $170. And 17 years old. You know, I didn't really know much about the world. I didn't really know much about here. I didn't really know much about, you know, anything, honestly. And, you know, coming in, I kind of just took a risk, took a gamble. I mean, it was either here or go junior college. But, you know, I was a young kid. And I feel like over the course of the years, just mentally, I've grown tremendously. You know, from a physical aspect, you know, I've definitely put on some weight since freshman year.
You're not $170 anymore?
I'm not $170 anymore, you know, but I feel like, you know, mentally I've just made strides, you know, just because of the experiences, because of, you know, just everything that I've, you know, encountered and experienced these last, you know, 5-6 years. They've grown me tremendously. I feel like if I were to be thrown into, you know, the situations I faced this year or last year, you know, when I was a freshman or a sophomore, I wouldn't have responded the way I have. And so,
for you
know, for me to just look back on that, it's been big. It's
how
been big for me.
When you look at take that kind of next step to the leadership side of that, how do you translate that to, you know, the redshirt freshmen, the freshmen that are on the floor? How do you try and get them to digest that a little bit?
I'm just reminding them that I've been there before. I've been in their shoes. Although I didn't redshirt coming straight out of high school, I took on the challenge of coming out there and being expected to produce. And, you know, and when I first came out, I didn't play a lot. I had to grind for my spot. I had to work for my minutes. And so kind of just reminding those guys, like, hey, I've been here before. You know, you're here now, and, you know, we're here for you to get you through it, you know. And it's all just phases of life, you know, just reminding those guys that you get through these things, you grow through them, and, you know, we're here for you. So
You certainly have been part of an incredible run here at Montana Tech. You're kind of that. It almost feels like that first floor. The guys. A couple of years before you were that foundation that was built, and you're that strong first floor. What do you see as far as the looking ahead for this program and what Coach Hyatt has done here at Montana Tech?
Really just keeping the culture. I feel like the biggest thing for us and what separated this program from every other program in the Frontier is just the culture. Like, you can say any other team has had a group of guys that were really good, and then they had to start over the next year. Carroll is a perfect example. They had a couple All-Americans on the squad a few years back, and then they had to rebuild. Same thing goes for Northern and for Providence and all the other schools. But for us, we've had to rebuild. We've had to bring in new pieces, but it's not really about bringing in new guys and starting over. It's just about that culture, culture that has to be reinforced, that has to be, put onto the players every single year. So I feel like, just for those guys, just trying to build that example, and just show like, hey, you give what you get, like you put in the work and you'll be rewarded, for it. So kind of just trying to lead by example, really. I feel like that's just the best way to keep the culture going, and just showing that what you do year in, year out, it shows later on, and it feels good. So
I look at when Coach Hyatt was playing and to his coaching career at West Mini, and here is that something that has always struck me other than defense is that idea that the we is far greater than the me. It doesn't matter if there are absolute superstars on the roster. They are just another piece of the machine that makes that thing run.
Yeah. That just goes to show, just what we're about, what Montana Tech is all about. And since I've been here since day one, Coach Hyatt's always stressed team together. That was the first 2 words I heard come out of his mouth. He's like, yo, you come here, man. It's about the team, man. It's not, you're not coming here for accolades. You're not coming here for becoming All-American, all this other stuff. We want you to be successful, but it's a team approach. It's a we over me approach, and he's made that crystal clear from the jump. And, I try and remind these guys every day, it's a team together. We're a fist, and, once one guy's out, the fist it's not a fist anymore, So just kind of reinforcing that and just reminding the guys like, yo, we need to stay together. That's, the strength in numbers. So.
Well, let's talk about what's next, because you have I think you've already amassed about 16 degrees from my understanding. Joking aside, you have two.
I have 2 degrees loading. I tried to reach for a minor, couldn't get that done, so we changed it around and kind of went from the accounting major and computer science minor to accounting major and business IT major.
Good for you, man.
I'm trying to get those 2, and I'm currently 2 classes from accomplishing that goal. So yeah, academics has always been a big thing for me since I was a little kid. I feel like I'm smart, so why not use my abilities, use my God-given abilities to to be successful. So
it's funny how it feels like there's still kind of a stigma about that, doesn't it? Like where you've got, I'm throwing up the air quotes, but you got a jock, and jocks aren't supposed to be smart. And then you have the 3 seniors who you are. Yeah. And all of you are just incredibly smart, and that stigma. It felt like it was around when I was a kid, which was before color, and it's still the case. It feels like at times. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, I don't either. But I think that is funny that us 3 happen to be some very intellectual students, players, and I think that really does translate on the court. There's moments where you could see just the high IQ plays, so.
Completely agree. And where I was going with that is obviously you have a lot of open doors with the education, but I would have to think that there's probably still some open doors in basketball as well.
Of course.
Is that something you're exploring or interested in?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking towards that avenue. I've already started to get an agent going. I went to Nigeria this last summer to renew my citizenship over there, so just to have that dual citizenship option.
And talking to Sindhu, I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
That's fine.
When Sindhu was going through the whole process, him having dual citizenship
Helped a lot.
Helped him a lot, right?
Tremendously.
Because you go overseas to Europe, and they can only have X number of Americans on their roster,
Correct.
right?
So the word is usually depends on where you go in Europe, but for the most part, they usually allow 1 to 2 Americans on their team.
Okay.
And then everyone else is kind of just from other parts of Europe or just other international spots, with dual citizenship. So just me being an American and offering that kind of just opens more doors and more opportunity for me. And it's just a good thing to have. I mean, obviously, I want to travel. I love getting out. I love exploring the world. I love seeing, more to life than just the U.S.
Yeah.
So
Good for you, man.
Orediggers.
I love Fee. He has played so hard. He just gets after it. Again, I really appreciate him taking some time to come in here and chat with us. And we are not done yet. We have one senior left on the men's side, and that is Keeley Bake. Keeley, cheers.
You as well.
We were sitting here. We got a little coffee. How you doing?
Good. You?
I'm good, thanks. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I am a fan of the mornings where you come in here and plop down in the chair and we sip a little coffee and talk nonsense.
Yeah. It's been, it's little things.
Little
that,
things.
People don't think about all the time.
I'm an enthusiast kind of person. I am a big fan of yours. Your time here at Montana Tech has been awful special. I think you're one of those guys that, as the years go, will be remembered for what you did here at Montana Tech.
Sure. Yeah. Just couldn't be more grateful, honestly. It's stuff that you dream about as a little kid, being able to, let alone play college basketball, but let alone have a little success in your run here. And couldn't be more grateful to represent Montana Tech, honestly.
I have to ask you, talk about the recruiting process. How did that start? And kind of walk us from point A to when you signed.
Oh, gosh. So, played for an AU program, select basketball out of Boise, Idaho, Caldwell, Idaho, if you want to. And did it 16U, 17U, and you don't really get any recruitment, obviously, until you're a junior. I think it's like the spring of your junior year or something like that.
Okay.
And get a couple texts. I think it was 3 different coaches on day one or the opening. One was Coach Howard at MSUB.
Okay.
And then Coach Selvig here, and then Pat Jensen, actually, I'm pretty sure was at Western, but
As an assistant.
But yeah, I got to know Coach Selvig first a little bit. I knew who Coach Hyatt was, but never, actually ever even seen him in person before until this whole thing started. But we were down in Anaheim, I believe. I don't even know if he remembers this story, but we get done with either the first or second game of the tournament. I'm, on those, they got like 30 courts in there and, all those nets. And we're like standing on one of the baselines. And I'm sitting there talking to Coach Selvig. And it goes, me on the left, Selvig in the middle, and Coach Hyatt on the right.
Okay.
And I walked right up to Coach Selvig, said, hey, what's going on? And just talking about the game. And he ends up standing right there.
Okay.
Coach Hyatt's right there.
Okay.
And he goes, something along the lines like, hey, this is Coach Hyatt. And my heart just dropped. I was like, good way to start it.
Yeah.
And we kind of just shake hands. And then that was kind of the beginning of it. But I was sitting there and I'm like, we didn't even process in my mind. I was just.
Oh, yeah, by the way.
Yeah, it was 16 years, whatever, at the time. And
yeah.
So then, we got to know each other, obviously, through the summer. And then the next year, AAU, we got really talking. And then the summer, going into my senior year, came to a camp here, got offered, kind of felt it out throughout the season just to see whatever else happens. But I think when my parents and I talk about it, we really knew.
It
was kind of going to come here, but I don't know why I never pulled the trigger earlier type of deal. But
so when you say that when you got the offer, do you remember when you got the official offer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we were here at his individual camps, 4-day or 3.5-day, whatever it was at the time, and just playing. Had been talking for a year about, and pulls me into his office one time before dinner, and he's just like, "Hey, this is kind of what we want to do." I was like, I couldn't be more excited.
Did you play cool? Were you just like, all right, okay?
I was just, I never knew anything. It was like my first official, like offer where
That
I
was
got
it.
down to the
Okay.
details and like things like that, and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool.
'Kay.
You know what I mean? And yeah, then came back on a visit during the Copper game that fall and went over it with my dad at the time. He came on the visit, and yeah, just kind of went from there. And here we are.
When you come through the visit, you didn't sign immediately, like you
No,
say, but
no.
when you went through the visit, does anything resonate? Who brought you through the visit? Because normally it's the coaches will show you, and then like players, correct?
Yeah, so I got here for a practice in the morning, just kind of felt it out, whatever, and then I actually went with my guys were Bridger Larson and Bridger Deeden,
Okay.
that were, just a couple of those guys, and kind of felt it out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they play your position. As a guard, both of them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I ended up with those two guys, and went over, student section, kind of got on the field a little bit, and I'm talking, ended up in the corner with Coach Hyde. He's like, let's go back up to the office and talk a little bit more about, not just the numbers, but why it would be a good fit, what we're thinking in school and that stuff. So
Gotcha. When you look at it was select period, right? You think it wasn't, because obviously at Fairfield, I mean, there have been a few successful people out of Fairfield. You had a successful basketball career there, but it was nothing compared to the ladies that went through right before you, correct?
Yeah, not even in the slightest.
I mean, I don't want to put it that way. That sounded really rude, but that group of ladies was significant.
Yeah, a little bit of Gatorade Player of the Year, WNBA player, the Clinkers. You can go down the list. It was,
And I would assume where I was going with that is I assume you were multi-sport. You probably football, track, everything.
Yep, all three.
Was it basketball always for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I kind of fell in love with it by about fourth grade. Started playing in second grade. Just kind of picked it up from there. I always enjoyed football and track and all that stuff. Like right now, I really enjoy watching football. I like the X's and O's and that stuff. But hoops, man, it
always hoops.
just talks a little bit different.
Got
so.
it. Would you recognize yourself as a freshman right now after your years here? Like, tell us what the change has been from that freshman year to now. What are the biggest things that you've seen change in yourself?
Oh gosh, just really accepting a constant grind. I would say, like when you're in high school and you go because it's really, really fun and you're kind of decent at it, so you work at it and you have dreams and like all these things, and then you actually get put in that position, and like people always say, it's kind of like a job and like things like that, and to me it is, but it isn't at the same time, because this is where that 12-year-old 14 15-year-old kid really wanted to be. So like,
yeah,
you signed up for it, let's get after it, and whatever, conditioning's hard and all that kind of good stuff. But it's the greatest thing ever.
I'd have to assume it's eye-opening because we joke about all the time about how long the Frontier Conference basketball season is, and we joke because it's true. I mean, it is the longest season known to mankind, and the idea of trying to stay healthy both physically and mentally through that entire process has to be learned.
Yeah, just for instance, like my very true freshman year was COVID year.
Okay,
and did the math, and when we showed up in August to our first game, I had practiced longer than any full high school season that I've ever been a part of. That 4, 5, 6 months that you're there doing it, it was really like, this is a real deal. Like, we gotta get after it a little bit.
What's so without giving blackboard material to anybody, when you look back at your career here at Montana Tech, do you have any moments that really stand out when you think of your playing career here?
Yeah, probably. There's 3 games that I think that really stand out.
Okay,
is the first Frontier Championship that we won in Carroll. I mean, couldn't have asked for a better ending, and for that group of seniors that went through their entire career just climbing the mountain and really trying to get to that point, and to see all those guys and get theirs and hang that on their head for a little bit, and just to be a part of it and have a little bit of contribution of it was really, really fulfilling to me. And then a couple years later, when we finally went to Kansas City,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the happiest I've ever been after a basketball game.
Okay.
You know, like it's uncharted territory.
Yeah.
You know, finally a Montana Tech team has gotten back to Kansas City,
Yep.
and you know, you're just living all that. It's really cool to be a part of that. And then right after that, I think, is when we played William Penn, because we're down our first team All-American.
Yep.
And Caleb Belich, unbelievable player, unbelievable teammate, obviously. And for us to kind of rally behind that a little bit and, you know,
And not flinch.
and not, you know, this is our game plan. We're going to stick to it.
Yep.
And, you know, to knock off a number 1 seed like that, you
It's
know,
the
it's
deal.
pretty special.
Yeah. Good for you.
So, yeah, those 3 games probably stand out a little bit more than the rest.
Do you, you know, going back to that first one when you're talking about that group of guys, I mean, they were really the foundation of what Coach Hyatt has built.
Yeah.
Do you look at the leadership that they gave you? Did you feel a sense of responsibility this year and even last year, kind of going, hey, we've got to keep this building growing?
1,000%. You know, it's you, as a senior, you never want to leave any distastefulness or a pit in anybody's stomach. And, you know, just for like guys that have built it up for you, why just coast? Why just let them down? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no reason to. I mean, those were your brothers. They did it for you. They wanted the best out of you, and we wanted the best out of them. So, it works both ways in that regard. And, yeah, absolutely. I think about them quite often, actually. So
I have to tell you, and I'm positive I've told you this like a billion times, but I'm going to give it to you again. I remember I love talking to coaches. It doesn't matter what coach. I'm a fan of coaches. I think coaches are special human beings, and I love to learn how their brain works because I don't work on that level.
Yeah.
And Coach Hyatt's always been a great one with me. The other one was Coach Morrell when I would always just pester about who you going after, who you after. Well, we're up and we're at the Butte Civic Center, and we're at the Class B tournament. John Thatcher and I are calling the Class B tournament for the NFHS. And I remember Coach Hyatt actually came up the stairs and sat with us up in the booth. And I'm like, so he obviously, and I don't say this in a fashion that, he isn't scouting players, but you don't see him in gyms very often. Mm-hmm. If you see him in a gym, he is very deliberate about who he is there to see. You're like, okay, well, let's find out. So I'm like, who are you here for? And I remember him looking at me and like giving me that kind of Hyatt smile, the kind of little smirk and the head bob. And he's like, you'll know. And that was at, I want to say like 10:30 in the morning. Yeah. And if I remember right, you guys played at like 5.
Yep.
And I remember watching like the first quarter, and I'm like, "Oh, I know who Coach Hyatt is here for. It's this point guard from Fairfield and Keeley Bake." Yeah. And I remember like texting him, and he's like, "Yep, that's the one." I'll never forget it. Like I will never forget it. It was hilarious to me. He's just like, "You'll know," and for certain knew who he was after.
Yeah, it's, like I said, couldn't be more grateful that. Have that kind of coach that wants to come out and recruit you and, come to all your games, even when he's busy at that, at that time of the year. In March, it's winning time for his program. It's winning time for Fairfield. And for him to take a little bit of time out of his day was pretty cool.
All right, so I have to ask the next question, and I apologize if this is hard to think about, but what's next? Like what's next in the adult realm for Keeley Bake after graduation?
Yep.
What are you graduating in first?
Business information technology.
Okay.
So,
what's on the horizon for you next? Do you think?
Oh, gosh, first of all, some shape or form, whether it's high school or college, I'd love to stick around the game.
Okay.
I think if I can make that a little bit possible, might make my 9 to 5 to speak a little bit easier.
Yep.
But.
Did you feel that pull pretty hard as far as wanting to coach?
The more and more that this season dwindles down, it's really coming to light that, like you said, if you recognize yourself as a freshman, I haven't known really what I want to do when I grow up. And, the more and more this season goes on, it's like, what do you know? And I've known basketball every day for, 23 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to embrace that I think I got to embrace that role a little bit, and then yeah, you know, we might have a couple job opportunities with like an insurance company or something like that to try and steer it that way. But
all right, well. Know that you have a legion of fans and a lot of people love you an awful lot. You've been a huge part of Montana Tech, and we talk about that foundation. You certainly have been there. I mean, you have seen a whole lot of good on this program, and certainly we have seen a whole lot of good because of the way you've played and the way you have interacted throughout Butte, Montana, your time here at Tech. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, man.
I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks, Keeley. Funny enough, out of those three guys, the one that I did not expect to be nervous was Keeley Bake, and he was a little nervous. Again, just tremendous seniors here in the program with Michael Ure, Ifeanyi Okeke, and Keeley Bake on the men's side. Now let's switch over here and hear what Coach Hyatt has to say about his three seniors. Coach, this has always been one of my favorite days, you know, and especially as I've grown older to realize what it means for the seniors, for the senior families, and for the coaches and administration. I mean, this is a big day when you get to senior day.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I recall my decades ago, my own senior day, and you knew, as a player, you know it's coming, and you have it circled, but you just don't ever feel like it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
You just feel like you're going to play forever, and you got so many more games, or the sand in your hourglass, it's never going to expire. And I just remember standing there at midcourt previous to my senior day, or senior night game, and I was just kind of it was a surreal feeling. I was like, wow, this is the last one I'll play here. It just goes by really quickly. Ever since then, you know, when I got into coaching, that is like the first thing I talk to every player, mostly with freshmen. It's like, you're going to feel like your career is going to last forever. Or it's like, man, you know, all right, this year doesn't matter. I got next year. Or I got the next year. And you're going to be sitting in front of the team in the locker room, addressing your teammates on senior night. And you're going to say, where did the time go? And you're going to tell every one of them, don't ever let a day go by, you know, without giving it your best. You know, don't take a day for granted, because it's over in the blink of an eye. And it really is. Yeah. And so for me as a coach, like, it is a very bittersweet day. It's bitter because, you know you're on the verge of losing some unbelievable young men that have been a big part of your life, you know, for however many years you had them. Yeah. But it's sweet in the sense that you've been able to see that growth, not just as a player, but as a person and as a leader and as a teammate and a student. And they're on the verge of going to the next chapter of their life. And you know that it doesn't just end with senior night. Like, you are connected to these guys for perpetuity, you know, and that's what makes it special. I mean, I get requests for recommendation letters, you know, from guys that played for me 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's wonderful. But we have a really good crew of seniors this year. We thought we were going to have four high-end guys that have all played like over 100 games in their career and tons of experience. And then we lost one of them, Camden Lawrence, 5 games into the year. And fortunately, he's in a position where he's going to be able to come back. So he'll be a super senior next year, which will be good. But of the three that we have, Ifeanyi Okeke. So just the other day, we were watching some old game film because we were going through our database in our mind of like different game plans and different things that we could do. And so we went back to like the 2019 and 20 season, and we were looking at a game that we played against Carroll College. And I had completely forgotten that Ifeanyi was on that team as a freshman. And he's out there playing, and I had to like keep looking at the screen like, who is that?
Who is that guy?
Is that Fee? Are you kidding me? And I was like, wow, he's been around for such a long time.
Yeah.
But his body type has changed. He's gotten stronger. He's way more under control. He takes better shots. It's been awesome. So his journey is unique. So he spent his first 3 years up at Carroll, and was faced with a circumstance where he was looking to make a change. Yeah. And he only had 1 year remaining before he could graduate up there. And so we pitched the idea that, hey, if you come down here, you'll have to redshirt. You'll sit 1 year, and then you'll have 2 to play. You know, I was like, I know that stretches your clock, but that's what you would have available. Here's what I would suggest. You're a really high-end student. Why don't you come and develop as a player, but also double major and get a minor, right? And like you can just get out of here with two fantastic degrees that you couldn't even imagine having.
Yeah.
And so he kind of looked at that, thought about it, talked about it with his parents. His parents are big into education, and they highly encourage him. You should take that. You should take that offer. And so he came down here 3 years ago and redshirted and was a monster as a redshirt on the scout team. It was hard to contain him, and he was like super competitive. And all of our guys would like get into it with him every day because Fee is never, he's not a quiet guy on the floor.
No.
He likes to tell you what he's doing to you as he's doing it, right? And so that energy though was just amazing for our team that year. It's just that competitive fire every day where you had a guy that was like basically a starter, a Frontier Conference starter, all conference level guy that was on your scout team every day competing against you. And we had no choice but to compete back at a high level. So it was great. And then last year was his first year playing, and he was playing in the place of Caleb Bellich as he was coming back from an injury, and did well in his role. And then Caleb came back, and we had to completely shift his role and what he did. And so we basically moved him to a 5-man. He was like an undersized 5-man, but he just embraced it. He just wanted to be on the floor, and he wanted to win no matter what, and took on any ask that we had for him. Guarded 1 through 5 literally. He could defend anybody on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And he just did it with such pride and such gusto that we were just like, man, we love having this guy back. And so we were super excited to get him back for this year. And honestly, this senior season has been his career best. He's had the highest field goal percentage. He's scoring the most points. He's grabbing the most rebounds. He's getting the most steals, the most block shots. Like he's an incredible all-around guy, just an elite two-way player.
Especially with how hard he plays the game, he's been incredibly consistent. Because
really
you
has.
expect with the pedal to the ground that hard, you expect there to be some pitfalls, some mountains, some really huge games and some games where you get into real foul trouble and have some issues. But beyond that, he has been incredibly consistent all year long.
Yeah, and what he's done this year really is he's recovered from bad moments. So, in years past, he would just put up a stinker of a game sometimes. Like we'd look at a box score at the end, it's like he's 2 for 11. It's like, holy cow, what did you do? What just happened here? He's had so many games this year going into halftime. We're looking at a box score and he's 1 for 6. And we're like, oh great, here comes one of these Ifeanyi games. And then we get the final stats, and all of a sudden he's got like 5 total missed shots the whole game. It's like he didn't miss in the second half. And it's like he completely flipped the script. It's like, all right, that's been a great growth thing for him. But part of it is shot selection, understanding what the team needs, and understanding that what his needs are secondary to what the team needs are. Yeah. But he knows how important he is to our team, especially with the injuries that we've sustained this year. And he's really stepped up, and I've been extremely proud of him. But this year in particular, his leadership has really grown. I think that he always just took a backseat to some of the older guys, and and was a little bit quieter when it came to leadership, vocality on the floor or even in the locker room. And boy, he's really grabbed that horn or that bull by the horn this year, and he's been remarkable. I hear him addressing the guys. He's very calm. He's not screaming at them. And if he does do something that he feels like didn't resonate well with the guys, like he owns it right away, and just steps up and says, hey fellas, I shouldn't have addressed you that way, but this is the point I was trying to make. And I was like, man, he's grown so much. So I'm extremely proud of him. But yeah, he's gonna be walking across the stage here in a couple months with 2 degrees from Montana Tech, and it's gonna be big for him. And he's gonna have a lot of choices to make because he's a talented player, and he potentially could play on overseas, or he can get into any type of corporate field and just do awesome there. So we're excited.
So exciting.
We're really excited to have him and his family here this week, and to be able to celebrate this week with him.
Yeah, that's outstanding. And like you said, as far as future basketball-wise, he can guard 1 to 5. He's incredibly quick. He's incredibly long. We talk about it all the time. But then the 2 degrees out of this building especially, he has a lot of doors out in front of him.
Yeah, he sure does. Yeah, and that's what we want for all of our guys, to have like choices, opportunities. You know, that's what you're going to get coming here. So our next senior is Michael Ure. So Michael, I've known him for a long time. So previous to coming to Montana Tech, as you know, I was the coach at Westminster College, now Westminster University, down in Salt Lake City. And we had tremendous basketball camps, large camps. And when Michael was a youngster, and like 5th grade, 6th grade, around there, he started to come to our basketball camps down at Westminster. And we see him there every year, and he'd bring his little buddies from Idaho Falls area, and they were just mainstays, right? And so then when we left Salt Lake and came up here, we started up our camps, and they were much smaller, but wouldn't you know it, the crew that stuck with us, that came and, left the Utah camps and came up here, was Michael Ure and his buddies, and along some other ones. And they went through the whole camp system here through, junior high, high school, so on and so forth. And they just came back every year, and especially Michael. And honestly, we always viewed him as a really high-level player, an exceptional player, and we were just growing the program. And we honestly didn't even recruit him that hard, because we thought he's going to go, somewhere else. That's more of an established program, things like that. But we always kind of stayed in contact. And then he, I remember during his senior year, he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I really want to come to Montana Tech. If you guys are interested in me, I really want to be there." And I remember my jaw dropped to the floor. And at the time we had Derek Selvig here, and I told Selvig, I was like, we didn't even think he'd be interested, And it's like, now all of a sudden he's asking us, "Hey, are you guys interested in me?" And so we're like, "Of course we are." And so we made a trip down to his high school, and we did this big signing ceremony thing. And we knew we weren't going to have him though for 2 years, because he was going to leave on a mission. But we were okay with that. We're like, "This is fantastic." And just so just as it was, after his senior year, he was the Idaho Gatorade Player of the Year, and he had just an incredible prep career. And so we were super excited about having him back. And since he's been here, he's known nothing but winning. That's it. I mean, his freshman year, 27 games won, national tournament, conference championship. His sophomore year, 29 games won, conference championship, national tournament, final 8, right? Yeah. His junior year, 27 games won, conference championship, national tournament, right? Yeah. And now so far he's got minimum 20 wins this year, with an opportunity to go win another conference championship. Yes, so he's known nothing but winning. He's been a big piece of it. He's got great quiet leadership. He's one of the calming presences in the locker room for the guys. He's very mature. He's incredibly bright. He's an academic All-American. Yeah. He's going to be a doctor someday. He's going to med school. So this next year he's going to do the MCAT. He's got a couple classes he's going to finish. He put those off because he wanted to make sure that he did the best he could on the MCAT, because he wants to have his choices of medical schools to be able to attend. And so he's actually going to help our team next year as a grad assistant a little bit until he gets the MCAT and all the applications in, and then he's off and running. And then he's going to be doing knee surgeries and things, shoulder surgeries, someday. But that's really one of the biggest reasons why he came here is because of the pre-existing relationship with me, which was big, with the opportunity to join a program that was growing and that was trending in the right direction. But most importantly, he was just sold on the academic piece where, he saw, it was like, wow, we got a 90% placement rate in medical school. So it just became a no-brainer for him. And he's not too far from home. But he's been tremendous. Now, what I love most about Michael is he has just gone through so much adversity, where it's like he's gone through adversity, off the floor with some difficult classes, that have been really challenging for him. He's gone through some adversity with, trying to find the right social niche for him, which is always difficult for everybody that comes up from a different state. Yes, indeed. Right. And then he's also found a lot of adversity on the floor where, he's the subject of everybody's game plan, and everybody is trying to make life difficult on him, and they're taking away little things that he wants to do or easy things that he can do. And it's really made him stretch his game and grow his game. And it's been frustrating for him, no question about it. But I just give him so much credit, and I always tell him this all the time. It's like, you're going to face adversity for the rest of your life in everything you do, right? And if you don't adapt and tackle it head on, right? And if you just get, fall into a little hole and get depressed or whatever, and just say, oh, I can't do it because they're making it too hard, then you'll never succeed. It's like, nobody cares that you're failing. It's just, are you getting yourself back up every day and you're learning from those mistakes and you're able to tackle those and try to find ways around them moving forward? And so he's done a tremendous job of that this year, of just trying to find ways in which he can be a little bit better every day. And I actually like where he is now going into the tail end of the season, where he's kind of seen some tough stuff, but he's now I feel like he's much more equipped mentally and physically now to be able to impose as well, where he can have a great finish to his senior season.
And you have to have that mental toughness to go, to get through biology in 4 years, one. Yeah. I mean, that is insane. That just doesn't happen very often. On the med school track, the idea of picking yourself up, brushing yourself off, you are going to get not physically, but literally punched in the face a lot going through med school. I was talking to my nephew before the Christmas break, and he said he had an 8.5 hour test in med school.
Yeah.
And the idea of moving through that, he has some big challenges, but both of those, they weave together and are going to make him better because of it, because of his hard work on the floor and in the classroom.
Absolutely. And, I will say this about him just as a player real quick. Like when we recruited him here to kind of be more of a forward type guy, like just a play away big that can shoot it and do stuff on the perimeter. And then, we graduated Taylor England and Cody Baumstark and those guys, and we were looking at our roster and who we were bringing in for what would be Michael's sophomore year. And I just made the decision. I just felt like he would be best as a 5-man for us. And, he created a lot of opportunities for our team on the offensive side, but it also put him in the undesirable position where he had to guard the biggest, baddest, strongest guy on the floor like every night. And it really toughened him up. I mean, nobody has more stitches to the chin, more bruises to the chest, more elbows and such to the face. And this guy has just sacrificed and taken it physically, for our team. And I am so proud of like that toughness, because he kind of, he was a little on the gentle side, and kind of more of on the finesse side. And he has embraced that tough mindset and is really, which is kind of part of our culture and everything that we are. And I've just been so proud of him for that. It's been amazing.
You're either going to adjust to it and thrive in it, or it's going to break you. I mean, there's no gray in a situation like that. There is absolutely no gray.
Yeah. And there's times where it's like he's guarding a guy that's got him by 80 pounds, and there's not a whole lot that he can do about it, but he just sticks his nose in there and battles and challenges, and he just does his absolute best. And there's so many times after games I just wrap my arms around him. I was like, hey, man, I'm just proud of you for that. It's like you gave everything you had. Like, even if it wasn't perfect, like we recognize that you are not backing down. Yeah. And that's what I told him, too. It's the key to success in life. You just can't back down. Yeah. If you get knocked down, you get back up and you just go after it again.
Oh, you just see some of those wide bodies just leaning into him and hammering him, and you just like you can't do anything but cringe. You're just like, oh, Mike. Oh,
I know.
Oh, yeah, I know. Just that.
So it's been awesome.
Outstanding career for him.
Yeah, and our final senior is Keeley Bake.
Quiet, gentle, Keeley Bake.
One of our all-time favorites. We spent a considerable amount of time recruiting him. There was just something special about him. It wasn't anything physical. He was always a little bit. He's a little bit smaller, but there was nobody going to be tougher. There was nobody that competed harder in high school. There's nobody that was a greater teammate, greater leader, greater big shot taker and maker. Yeah. His junior year, he made a half-court buzzer beater to beat Sayer Patton, in a crucial game. And, we always razz Sayer about that. I was going to say,
I can't imagine that ever got quiet.
Gets brought up quite a bit. But always taking and making big shots. But the biggest thing is, like, we just recognize his presence in the locker room was so demonstrably significant in high school that we knew that that's a trait that was going to translate immediately to our level, no matter, even as a freshman. And that he's been nothing short of amazing with his leadership and and I tell you, the leadership goes to his selfless nature as well, where when he was a true freshman, that was during the COVID season, and that was a tough season, but he got to play. He played some games in that, 8 or 10 games, something like that, and did great. Had incredible numbers. Shot like 60% from the field and 55 from three, and all this stuff. Like, he was amazing in the time that he played. Hurt his ankle really bad at the end of the year, and then he got himself back on the floor for spring, and then started off like his real full freshman year in 2021-22, and during that freshman year, we had him in the games at the biggest moments. Mm-hmm. We were at Southern Oregon and kind of struggling to score, and Southern Oregon's a really good team. It's hard to win road games. And Keeley Bake, he's in the game with a minute and a half left, and we're down 3, and he hits the biggest 4-point play. Jumps up, shoots this corner 3, gets tackled, knocks it down. We go up by 1, and we end up winning the game. It was huge. We're at Dickinson State right after finals, and games after finals are always tricky because your heads are, who knows where your heads are. Yep. And we go over to Dickinson State, and we all of a sudden find ourselves in a bad position on the road, and we're down 3 late in regulation. And I can't remember who shoots it, but somebody shot a three. It must have been Sindhu or Caleb, one of those two probably. The odds would say it's one of those two.
Odds would say, yeah.
And Bridger Larson grabs the offensive board and just turns around and whips it out to Keeley in the corner right in front of our bench. And Keeley jumps up to shoot it and just gets taken out. He misses the shot, but now there's like 2 seconds left on the road. He's going to the foul line for 3 free throws to tie the game. And he doesn't even hit the rim. Just stitch, stitch, stitch. We go to overtime. We end up winning by like 8. And I'm just like, this is a freshman doing these things, right?
Yeah.
But that's what he has done his entire career, where he's in the moment. He's present. He's never been scared of anything, of any moment. And this is a kid from Little Fairfield, Montana, who at the highest pressure moments has always stepped up to the plate. And so it's been incredible. But I remember this vividly. We went up to Fairfield in January of 2020. We did like this little signing ceremony, and it was the biggest thing that stood out for me is literally the entire school was in the lobby. They all came out for it.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking around. I told Coach Selvig at the time, I was like, this kid's special. Because you do these things a lot. We go around, do these things. And sometimes you'll get family and friends and you'll get teammates and stuff like that. But when you're getting the whole student body, it's like, okay, this guy means something special to this community and, to everybody that he touches.
And not only they were a good Fairfield team on the boys' side, but they were second fiddle in town to the girls' team.
For a long time.
A long time. I mean, that girls' team, the year before, what was it? They went like 128-0 or something like that. Just an incredible group. So that also plays into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they won the state championship his senior year, which is pretty awesome. But and I remember they asked me, they're like, hey, Coach, could you address, the people in attendance? I was like, absolutely. So I kind of spoke about Keeley. And the one thing that I said, I just remember saying that, looking out here, it confirms everything that we already knew about him, about how high his character is and how great of a leader he is. Yeah. And that's what we expect him to bring to Montana Tech. And that's what he's been for 5 years, an incredible leader. So we love him so much, and we hold him in such high esteem that I am actively recruiting him again to be my grad assistant next year.
Okay.
Hopefully for the next 2 years. And so I'm pretty close to getting it.
All right.
To getting it done because I feel like there's more to his story. Mm-hmm. Basketball's in his blood, coaching's in his blood with his mom and his family and everything.
And he and I talked about if coaching was in his future or not. So
it might be.
Yeah, he's thinking about it.
At some capacity, it could be. I don't know about college coaching, but definitely high school level or whatever. Like coaching's definitely in his future, right? Yeah. And so, we're going to help navigate him on the right path. And he's got a great internship now and things like that. So there's a lot of things cooking for him. But we want to see if we can now get this part of his story written too. So there's a lot of things that we're doing, but I wouldn't do this with anybody except for guys that are just so unbelievably high character and grinders and work ethic and just nothing's going to get them down. They're just going to keep coming back every day trying to be their best self, and that is him to a T. So he's been remarkable. I all these seniors, I wish them nothing but the best now as we close our season. And, we've gone through a little bit of a tough stretch here, but, the best guys during this stretch have been our seniors. There's a sense of urgency. They see the sand is dwindling in their hourglass, and these guys are determined to go out on top.
Well, Coach, as always, I appreciate your time. I look forward to this every year. I love when we talk about seniors. I get attached to them, even more so now than I had previously. And, as a coach, you spend more time with the guys than their parents do for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. It always has to be that kind of bittersweet day where you're nothing but ecstatic for them. But, boy, especially, again, a tremendous group that have meant the world to this program.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all like adopted sons for Jenica and I. That's how they feel. They're in our house a lot. Like you said, I talk to them. I know I talk to them way more than they talk to their parents. I mean, I talk to them every day, multiple times. It's so you just grow so close to them, and you hate to see them go, but at the same time, like your own kids, you're just you're anxious for their future, and you're proud of what they've done to this point, and like you're excited to like share in whatever the future adventures are. But at the same time, we got some unfinished business, and we're going to see if we can send them out on a high note.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Adam Hyatt, ladies and gentlemen, here on Roll Diggs, talking about his 3 seniors. I want to thank Coach Hyatt, also Coach Graham, and the student athletes that were willing to come chat with me, and Aubrie Rademacher, Michael Ure, Ifeanyi Okeke, and Keeley Bake. I want to congratulate them, and also I want to congratulate the other ladies that are walking for Senior Day in Brooklynn Hankwitz. You have Macy Mayer and also Kaya Wasson. So our thanks to them for everything that they have given to Montana Tech as just tremendous student athletes. So that is what we have for Senior Day. Hopefully you enjoyed the discussions with the players and the coaches. It's always one of my favorites, and I look forward to this moving forward, being able to talk to the student athletes and get their perspective as well. As it's amazing how the all roads will find their way here at times, and certainly great to hear some of the stories about how they ended up here on our campus in Butte, Montana. We have a lot of great stuff still coming at you on Roll Diggs. We're going to talk to Matt Steppen, our athletic director, in time. Also, we're going to hear from our new track coach as Mr. Chuck Merrifield will join us. We'll get going on that. We have volleyball to talk about, and we have a football recruiting update to give you as Montana Tech had the recruiting class signed, sealed, delivered, and a tremendous group. We're going to talk to Coach Kyle Sampson about the guys coming in and, kind of about the recruiting process. It certainly has changed through the years. We're going to talk shortly to Coach Kyle Sampson about that process and more the next time we are here on Roll Diggs. I'm Paul Podisco. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care.